win. Change the way you experience TV with X1 from Xfinity.
Tonight, breaking news from Belgium, the urgent manhunt right now, and a major new discovery here. The all-out search at this hour, police in masks and full body armor, searching for the man in the hat in that surveillance image from the Brussels airport. There's also news tonight about two suspects, one at the airport, the other in the subway. Authorities say both brothers and both blowing themselves up. And the startling reveal, how many times did authorities send warnings about these two men? Also tonight, the computer discovered in the trash the revealing message from one of the suspects. And the faces of the missing, Americans among them, the families still hoping to find their loved ones, the brother and sister, the Kentucky couple. And we go to find the young American who pried open that subway door to help so many escape after that bomb. The race for president turns personal. Donald Trump's wife, Melania, used in a new ad for Ted Cruz. Trump lashing out, warning he would, quote, spill the beans about Ted Cruz's wife. Tonight, what Cruz told our team. And the Denver airport shut down. The blizzard hitting several states with warnings and watches. The National Guard called in, and it's headed east.
From ABC News, this is a special edition of World News Tonight with David Muir, reporting tonight from Brussels.
And good evening tonight from Brussels. And as we come on the air here, this city remains on its highest alert. Security everywhere we went today. After the devastating attacks, there are fears here there could be more. The U.S. State Department tonight with an extraordinary warning telling American travelers that terror groups are planning attacks all across Europe, warning Americans to be vigilant. Also tonight, we are learning some of the identities of the men who attacked this city. One of them, authorities now confirm, was the master bomb maker here and in Paris. Another man in this photo, a suicide bomber at the airport, had a brother who walked into that subway here and did the same thing. And now the urgent manhunt tonight for the man on the right with the hat who got away. Tonight, what investigators have also found in this building where the suspects were believed to be hiding, and the message on the computer that was found in the trash. ABC's Alex Marquardt leads us off here in Belgium tonight.
Tonight, police in masks and full body armor searching the streets of Brussels, an all-out manhunt to capture a terrorist before he strikes again. This is the man they're looking for in the dark hat and tan coat, his name not known. The two men with him pushing heavy carts at the airport, suicide bombers, their black gloves possibly concealing detonators. Now sources in Brussels telling ABC News the man on the left is the master bomb maker, 24-year-old Najim Lashrawi. The man in the middle, 29-year-old Ibrahim El-Bakrawi. And we now know his 27-year-old brother Khalid carried out the deadly subway attack later that day. This morning, prosecutors revealing that both brothers, born in Belgium, had extensive criminal histories. But they also said this: not tied, he said, to terrorism. But tonight, we're learning that's not true, that both brothers had terror connections. In fact, last June, Interpol, the World Police Organization, sent a worldwide alert about Khalid al-Bakrawi, saying he was wanted in Belgium. The charge? Terrorism. And today, Turkey's president said the other brother, Ibrahim, was caught on the Syrian border. The Belgian authorities were warned he was, quote, a foreign fighter. Tuesday, the three suspected airport attackers headed out on their mission from this nondescript building in a Brussels suburb.
This is where the attackers were picked up early yesterday morning to go to the airport right outside this apartment building, loading their 3 bags full of explosives into the car. But they reportedly couldn't fit more bags in because it was too small, meaning the carnage could have been even worse.
They drove the 5 miles to the airport, that infamous surveillance image captured at 7:55 a.m. Less than 5 minutes later, the first explosion, then another. The blasts fewer than 10 seconds apart, turning this bustling terminal into the burned-out shell you see here. Today, these new images of the aftermath, a soldier carrying a victim on his back to safety, a mass of people desperate to escape, and somewhere among them, the man in the black hat. An hour later, just 7 miles away at the metro station, another suicide bomber prepares to strike.
The second brother, Khalid al-Bakrawi, came here to the Malbec metro station to carry out his suicide attack in the shadow of the offices of the European Union, making his way through rush hour commuters to detonate his explosives.
He stepped into this subway car, now a mangled heap of twisted metal. Surviving passengers climbing out into the darkness. Hours later, police teams descended on the terrorist's safe house. Forensics investigators in white suits dusting for fingerprints and carrying out evidence. And in a garbage can on the same street, a dramatic discovery. The discarded computer of airport bomber Ibrahim el-Bakrawi, and on it a final desperate message. The terrorist writing about, quote, being in a rush, no longer knowing what to do, being sought everywhere, no longer being safe, and worrying about spending the rest of his life in a jail cell.
So, David, it appears from this message that the attackers believed the net was tightening around them, that the authorities were closing in, and that they had to act now to pull off these horrific attacks. David?
Alex Marquardt leading us off. Alex, thank you. And with that discovery, that message found on a computer, and that connection tonight between the master bomb maker here in Brussels to Paris, the big question that remains, how many people are in that terror cell and how many are still alive tonight, perhaps planning the next attack? Here's our chief investigative correspondent, Brian Ross now.
It's increasingly clear tonight to U.S. authorities that the deadly terror attack this week in Brussels and last November in Paris were the work of one interconnected ISIS cell based in Belgium, made up of at least 16 terror recruits, mostly European, 13 of them now dead, 1 under arrest, and 2 still being sought.
It's got more moving parts. It's got people attacking in different ways. It's a more resilient kind of terror cell, I think.
The culmination of more than a year of careful planning by ISIS Central Command in Syria that allowed the cell to avoid detection for so long.
They do train their people in the fundamentals of being a spy, of being a terrorist cell, fundamentals of secure communication.
Among those with documented ties to both Paris and Brussels is that suspected bomb maker, 24-year-old Najim Lashrawi, whose remains were discovered today in the rubble of the Brussels airport. Authorities say they have found his DNA and fingerprints at bomb factories that produced explosives for both Paris and Brussels. And David, officials tell us that even with those 2 men on the loose, they believe the Brussels terror cell has already carried out its mission, now out of people and out of bombs. The concern now is that there are other terror cells across Europe still covert and still actively plotting. David?
Brian, thank you. And as you know, authorities remain on the scene in that neighborhood where they discovered that computer, but they also discovered something else in that apartment building, a cache of weaponry and explosives. Tonight, our chief foreign correspondent, Terry Moran, inside that building, knocking on the apartment next door, asking the man who lives there if he had any idea what was happening on the other side of that wall. Here's what he told Terry.
Overnight, that apartment in the Brussels suburb, a virtual bomb factory, was scoured by investigators into the early morning. This shaky video of the search shot by a shocked neighbor, and inside a grim find. Investigators recovering about 33 pounds of TATP, the so-called mother of Satan explosive used in the Paris attacks last November. Almost 40 gallons of acetone used to make TATP, detonators, a suitcase filled with nails and screws, and ventilators. A bomb factory in the middle of this Brussels neighborhood, and people have a lot of questions. How could the landlord not know? How could the government, which checks every rental, not follow up? It seems almost incredible that no one saw anything. While we were on the scene... You didn't know? No. A neighbor arrived. He told us he lives in the apartment next door to the suspected attackers, but saw only a bearded man come in and out. Greeted him once. No. And got a stony silence in return. The neighbors tell us the suspected attackers were only up in that apartment for a few weeks. They moved in, they built their bombs, and they killed. And the urgent question now is, how many more hideouts like that are there here? David?
Terry Moran here in Brussels with me tonight. Terry, thank you. And next to the heartbreak of the families of the Americans hurt or still missing tonight. The State Department saying they don't have names or an official list of the missing, but there are many families still waiting, still hoping. Tonight here, the stories behind those faces and the American survivors tonight, including the young man from Washington, D.C., who was in the subway during the explosion and who helped pry open that door so everyone could escape. Tonight, we found him right here in Brussels, taking us back into the subway, where they searched our coats. He told me he has never seen security like this here before. Ashley Bruggeman running straight into her family's arms late today in New York, still wearing the same clothes she had on when she fled the Brussels airport. Gatane Powell's from Houston, Texas, getting word that her 21-year-old stepson, Gatan, has been found. He woke up in a hotel lobby turned triage center with no memory of the subway attack.
Yes, it's over. It's like...
Heroic stories of survival emerging from Brussels. At the airport, American physician Laura Billet triaging the injured with the help of her friend Laura Harper.
With my pair of scissors that I found, I cut off so many pairs of pants to find, just massive shrapnel wounds underneath them.
Former Marist College and Oakland University basketball player Sebastian Balan going into surgery for his left leg after the blast reportedly threw him 65 feet.
His first words were, "Dad." And then he paused and he said, "You have no idea what I saw around me, the carnage."
And there was NBA Hall of Fame star Dikembe Mutombo. He was asleep in the passenger lounge when the first bomb went off at the airport. He fled to safety, posting on Facebook now, "God is good." More than 100 others wounded there, some 12 Americans, including 3 Mormon missionaries, Richard Norby, Mason Wells, and Joseph Empey. Joseph's family grateful he's alive.
We love him a lot, and we're excited to see him again.
The camera rolling when Mason Wells spoke to his parents for the first time after the blast.
Too bad at all. So they're pretty sure they're not in the sky.
Where are the burns?
On the right side of my head, kind of by my ear.
By your ear?
Okay.
But your eyes are okay?
Yeah, and then my right hand is also kind of badly burned.
How long will you be in the hospital?
Couple weeks.
Oh.
While so many others still search tonight, New York City natives Alexander and Sasha Pinchowski feared missing. The brother and sister called their family from the airport Tuesday, but the phone line went dead after the explosion. Alexander, engaged to be married, his fiance's father, on his way to Brussels to search.
You live through those scenarios, you think about those, but you can never imagine that something like this would happen to your own daughter, your own family, and it's horrible beyond imagination.
And tonight, the first face of the confirmed dead here. Adelma Tapia Ruiz on her way to New York to visit family, her husband and twin daughters at the airport to see her off. An hour later, after that airport attack, the other explosions 7 miles away on that crowded subway. We went to find the young American, Brian Carroll from Washington, D.C., who pried open the door on that subway after the explosion. He told us he knew about the airport attack that morning and even debated whether or not to get on that subway. He did.
As we were arriving to the platform, there was a massive explosion. We heard it, we felt it in the train. To me, immediately I knew it was a terrorist attack. That's exactly what it felt like. It's crazy to believe that I was just a few cars down, and I'm very, very thankful and lucky to have gotten out alive.
You and some of the other people on the train pried the door open.
That's right.
We went down into that subway today before it closed early. Armed guards making us open our coats before we could board. And on the subway, Brian shows us where he was standing, just a couple of cars away from the bomb. Brian saying he's thankful he and the others in that train car had the instincts to pry the door open to get everybody out. The terror attacks here in Brussels, of course, a major campaign issue back home tonight. Hillary Clinton with a major speech late today, painting herself the experienced and steady candidate and blasting the Republicans. Donald Trump repeating tonight he was right all along about shutting the borders to Muslims and about waterboarding. But also tonight on the political front, the new battle between Donald Trump and Ted Cruz about their wives. Here's ABC's Tom Yamas.
Tonight, Hillary Clinton firing hard at Donald Trump and Senator Ted Cruz, calling their plan to stop terrorism by patrolling Muslim communities blanket bigotry.
Racially profiling predominantly Muslim neighborhoods. It's wrong, it's counterproductive, it's dangerous.
Trump even saying today he'd be open to using nuclear weapons against ISIS.
ISIS is an enemy. I don't rule out anything. I would say definitely nuclear weapons are a last resort.
And tonight, Trump and Cruz locked in a nuclear war of words over their wives. It started with this anti-Trump super PAC ad we had to blur. Trump lashing out on Twitter, posting, "Lion Ted Cruz just used a picture of Melania from a GQ shoot in his ad. Be careful, lying Ted, or I will spill the beans on your wife."
When you read that, what did you think?
I will say, even for Donald, though, he reached a